This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 425 of the Stable Scoop Radio Show. Please support our sponsors as they make this show possible.
Our sponsors this week are HorseLovers.com, Dr. Rose's Remedies, and Horseware. This week, Helena shares her wedding details. Woohoo! Equine surgeon Dr. Liz Yorke is our listener of the week, and HorseLovers.com product review is the Equi-Calm paste. Listen in.
Welcome to the Stable Scoop, with weekly shows delivered right to you. With Helena and Glenn the Geek, live from the stable, it's every week. They bring you the news through hail or high water, while using their tails as their own fly swatters. So sit on down and laugh till you poop, cause it's time again for Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. The Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop.
This is Coach Jen.
And this is Helena B. And you're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. Well, Jen, I have to decide whether or not I want to keep my radio show name, Helena B.
But it sounds so good.
I'm still holding on to it.
It's going to be all things wedding here. Just be prepared, everybody. I have two important questions because I did not get to attend your pop-up wedding.
I know.
Was the wedding wonderful?
Yes.
And other question, were there horses involved?
Kind of.
Kind of?
Kind of.
Explain.
Well, since we're all horsey, we had to leave the horses behind for the day, but there was no shortage of horse discussion. We're all very deeply enmeshed in one another's horsey lives. So I have my two horses who Nora comes and helps me out with. Grace rides in Nora's IEA program. Nora is now the head coach of the Roger Williams equestrian team. She has a barn full of horses, and Rachel is her assistant trainer. So we talked horses pretty much from the beginning to the end.
Now, was it indeed on the beach?
It wasn't on the beach. It was held in a little town commons. It's not so little. It was in the town commons in Newport, Rhode Island, called Queen Anne Square. So it's a green. It's a town green, and it points towards, or it's overlooked by this big, beautiful church steeple, Trinity Church. And there are cobblestone brick pathways. And then there's this beautiful stone area foundation. It's like, I can't really explain what it's like. It's almost like a hearth. And each of these little areas within the park are dedicated to a certain period in history that helped define what Newport is all about. And the one that we actually got married in, each area has a carving, a stone carving. And the words in that carving are an excerpt from a log, from either it's a mason or a sea captain or a woman who, I don't know what they're called, but they spin yarn and they have all these, jobs, these colonial people. So they took these excerpts from these our ancestors' logs and journals and literally inscribed them into the stone to mark what these people were feeling and thinking, what was happening at that point in history. So the one we were at was dated 1763. So we went way back. We invoked the history of our Yankee ancestors.
So neat. Now, how old is the most recent one? How close to modern do they go?
It was in the 1860s.
So reasonably modern.
Yeah, reasonably modern.
How old is the oldest one?
That's a good question. I think that oldest one was 1703.
Okay, so it covers a century and a half or so.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm guessing is Newport older than the 1700s?
Oh gosh, now you're getting into Newport history. I believe Newport was settled in the mid 1600s. In fact, we did an episode of the show. It was about Newport weddings of all things, but the gal who was on is a 12th, this is not a typo, a 12th generation Newporter. Her family was her great 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 grandfather was one of the original masons that actually laid the brickwork on some of the very first foundations in Newport in the 1600s.
Oh, wow. How cool.
Yeah. So my dates are a little fuzzy because I have all kinds of dates floating around in my head, but Newport was pretty much settled in the 1600s. But then, like everything else in New England, really got heavily populated in the 1700s, 1740s, 1750s. And then, of course, the 1800s, there was another boom, and we had the mansions built, and we had all kinds of commerce, and then there was the whaling trade. So the whaling trade really took hold in the 1800s. So there were these spurts of development, and you can see them layered into the city, into all of Rhode Island and all of New England, actually. So this park overlooks Newport Harbor. It overlooks all of the things that make Newport this great seafaring town. But it was just across the street and steeped in colonial history.
How cool. You had a historical wedding.
Oh, it was so cool. It was so cool. And it was 9 of us, 10 including our wedding officiant. So it was small, perfect. I would never, ever, ever do a big wedding again. Small is awesome.
I frankly don't understand how anybody does a big wedding, but there's some people who, I guess being an introvert, I don't get it. But did you have a plan B if you had a thunderstorm, or the common was covered with bouncy houses because of a birthday party? Was there a plan B?
Well, no, not really. And we planned it that way. Our plan B was don't have a plan, because Buck and we're truly adventurers. We're a couple of punks. So the excitement around the whole thing was, we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to show up in this park. We don't know if we're allowed to do this. We don't know if there's going to be people around. Is there some kind of event going on? We had an idea that there was nothing big. There were no big, like, town-sponsored events happening in the park. But we really didn't know what we would find when we got there at 5 o'clock on Friday. And although we did know that the weather was going to be okay, we were a little concerned with Hurricane Matthew, and its initial proposed track was supposed to come right into Newport Harbor. But I was like, you know what? We'll just get a couple of umbrellas at the dollar store, and I'll pack my wellies. Seriously, like, how much fun would that be? I mean, like, yeah, we got married in a hurricane.
There you go.
No, we did not have a backup plan.
You can see the headlines. Couple arrested in effort to illegally get hitched in town common. That would have been really fun.
Yeah.
Think of all the
It
press
was
your
cool.
show would have gotten.
I know. Ratings, baby. Ratings.
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations. I have seen the pictures, and everybody just looks like they had a grand time.
We did. There was no stress. So everybody was free to have, a nice big family dinner out. And we had a reservation at a restaurant. You guys will have to listen to the show on Thursday, where we'll give all the details of play-by-play and what we went through. But we had dinner at a fancy schmancy restaurant right on the harbor, and we had made reservations, but we didn't actually reserve a room. We just reserved a table for 10. And so, the restaurant says, well, we can hold your table, but we can't guarantee it because someone might come along and actually reserve the restaurant for an event between now and your wedding. So again, there was some question as to whether or not
we'll take your reservation, but not really.
We'll take your reservation, but they couldn't. No, they could reserve a table for 10, but they couldn't guarantee where.
Oh, well, okay, there you go.
Within the restaurant. So we wanted to overlook the harbor and have the sunset and all this stuff. So it didn't quite work out the way we planned, but you'll have to tune into the show to find out exactly how it worked out.
The pictures are happiness. So
yeah, I know. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Oh, there you go. That's so cool.
Yep. So I will remain Helena B, although officially I will be changing my name. It will be Helena Harris.
You're gonna have to get everything you're just gonna have to get everything re-embroidered. Oh my gosh, the dishes, the flatware.
I never had anything. The only thing I have to do is some paperwork.
Well, maybe this is an opportunity then.
Yeah. That's true. Well, you know what? This is right. Like we can get towels and it's H. So I don't even have
H's are
to.
pretty. You can get them
I can
curly Q and stuff.
exactly. H's are pretty, and I only need one. It covers pretty much the whole
You can
thing.
get rat catchers done, and you can put them on your horse's coolers, and you can put them on your fancy tack trunks.
Yep. Exactly.
There you go. I think that's what you should need to do is just get everything with H's all curly Q and beautiful. It's a good reason to go out and buy new coolers and new tack trunks and new brushes and new
Saddle pads.
You can get them embroidered in your hat covers.
Oh yeah. One of those leather stamps,
Yeah. There you go. That's all.
You had one. You had JH, right? Didn't you have you had JGH? JH.
All over everything. Yes.
Yep. You're kind of impressed that I remembered that, aren't you?
I don't remember that. I don't remember. It's like, oh yeah, I did have that on everything, didn't I? Oh my gosh. Well, that's the only way you can keep track of it when you have it, keep your stuff at a stable.
I know. Lots of my stuff has walked away over the years.
Yeah, it's a hazard.
Yep.
Spread the love. Yep. Well, that's been a lot of fun, but I think we probably should get rolling here.
Yes, ma'am.
First guest.
But before we do get to our first guest, we're going to take a minute to hear from one of our sponsors,
Woohoo!
Horse Lovers.
We all get in a rut when it comes to shopping for horse supplies online. If you have not tried horselovers.com yet, then you are missing out on one of the world's largest online tack shops and all the best brands like Noble Outfitters, Ariat, Turn 2, Tough One, Professional's Choice, Weaver, and many, many more. Visit horselovers.com every day to see their daily deals and flash sales. Horselovers.com has everything for the Western and trail rider. So get on over to horselovers.com today and save. This winter grooming tip is brought to you by Horseware Blankets. Joining us are two of the top grooms in the country of Enter Philip Dutton's groom, Emma Ford, and Kat Hill from World Class Grooming. Well, this week's Horseware Winter Grooming Tip of the Week is brought to you by Kat. Kat, we're talking about blanketing for the busy work day. You start off in the morning, you make sure the horses have their blankets on, and then you go to work for 8 hours, and then it warms up. What do you do?
The key to keeping your horse comfortable all day is it's pretty simple. It's the same thing that you use, and that's layering. One heavyweight blanket that they wear all night and during the day can oftentimes get too hot during the middle of the day, and then especially if you're not coming back again till after dark, then they get chilled because they've gotten too hot in the middle of the day. Rambo has two amazing options for this. The first is their layering option, where they have a liner that clips to a top layer, and the liner helps to regulate their body temperature more similarly to how their own coat works, because you've got the two layers that breathe a little bit better than just one big heavy layer. And it also helps to prevent the chill from taking hold if they've got warm in the middle of the day and then cooling down in the evening. The other one is Rambo has a product which is their Vera layer, which is one rug. It's super easy to use. You just put on whatever weight they're going to wear all day, you put on in the morning. And right now, it's about 40 degrees in the morning, and it's getting up to 60 degrees where we are during the day. And so my horse is wearing the midweight, the midweight Vera layer. And what that does is it actually is designed to act more like their own coat. So similar to how performance fleece works for people, it doesn't get too hot, but it also doesn't get it also keeps them really nice and toasty. And that Vera layer system helps horses self-regulate, similar to how their own hair works. So they stay a lot more comfortable through the day.
Great advice for a problem that everybody is familiar with and we all worry about when we go to work in the morning and don't get to see our horses till evening. And I'm glad they came up with a solution like that, because short of before, the old days, short of having somebody come out at noon and take a layer off, that was the only option you had. Well, Kat, where can people find out more about you guys?
We're on the web at worldclassgrooming.com, and you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram if you look up the same thing, World Class Grooming. And we published a book, the best-selling horse book last year, and it's World Class Grooming for Competition Horses, and you can find it on our website or wherever horse books are sold.
And we have breaking news just in. Hold the presses. This week only, from October 14th through the 17th, you can get $100 off any Rambo turnout blanket, including the Vera layer that Kat talked about, the Rambo Duo, the Optimo, and the Original, the Supreme, and all the others in the Rambo turnout line. All you have to do is trade in your old turnout from any brand for a horse in need. Simply visit horseware.com/trade for more information and fill out the form for the voucher you will need to get your $100 off. That's from the 14th through the 17th. The complete list of retailers is on the website at horseware.com/trade as well. Open to U.S. and Canadian residents only. Go to horseware.com today and trade in that blanket that you currently have to a brand new Rambo and get $100 off on this weekend only from the 14th through the 17th.
Up next, we have our Listener of the Week. We're featuring Dr. Liz Yorke this week. Why is she a doctor? She's the best kind of doctor there is. She's a veterinary doctor, an equine veterinary doctor. So it's Dr. Liz Yorke, DVM, which makes her way cooler than any MD. And she's from Auburn, Alabama. So we're going to talk to her about what life is like as an equine surgeon, about her horses. Is she married? Is her spouse, if she has one, horsey? All those wonderful questions that help us get to know our listeners. And then, of course, we have the rapid fire questions, which really helps us get to know our listeners. So let's get our guest, Dr. Liz Yorke, on the phone today.
It is the year of the listener. And now, our Stable Scoop Listener of the Week.
Well, welcome, Dr. Yorke, to the Stable Scoop Radio Show. We're happy to have you. This is our listener interview, getting to know our listeners segment. And what I thought was going to be just a generic, hey, how are you? Let's get to know who you are and get to know something about your horses. You actually have something really meaty to talk about, but we're going to get to that in just a second. So let me just say, welcome to the Stable Scoop Radio Show.
Thanks very much. I'm happy to be here.
You are, according to my show notes here, you're an equine surgeon, or actually a professor of equine surgery at Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine. Am I right so far?
That's right.
How long have you been in veterinary medicine?
Oh, well, I graduated vet school back in 2007, and I've done a variety of training experiences, internships, and residencies since then. And I've been at Tuskegee University for about 2 years now.
And did you start out with large animals, equine medicine, or did you do small animals? Have you always wanted to work with horses?
Yeah, I was one of those girls that grew up drawing pictures of horses before I'd ever actually seen one. So I came up in the hunter jumper world and owned and showed horses all through my junior years, and continued to do that in a less competitive manner. But yeah, I always knew I wanted to do equine medicine.
Jen?
I have a question. I forget what it was. It's gone now because I think you answered it sort of for me. Now, whenever you started out in veterinary college, you always wanted to do the horse thing.
Yes, yeah. It's always been my focus. I own dogs and cats myself, but in terms of what I wanted to do professionally, yeah, my love is horses, so that's what I do, and I've specialized in that, and I teach the equine medicine and surgery rotation here at Tuskegee. I'm one of the professors in that, so train the students on the large animal side and teach those courses here.
How did you pronounce again the name of the university?
Tuskegee University.
Tuskegee. Okay, I've said it the total Yankee way. Tuskegee.
Oh, I'm a Yankee too.
Oh, you are? Okay, but you're
I'm from New York. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're embedded now, so you can't get away with mispronouncing your university.
Whenever one goes to veterinary college, do you have to say at the beginning of your 28 years of veterinary college that you want to be a surgeon, or is that something when you start out you have to go through X number of years and then you go extra for surgery? How does that work?
Yeah, the latter, exactly. Now, some vet schools will track a specific species if you want to specialize in horses. For example, my veterinary school, which was Virginia, did that. So I focused my studies on the equine side all the way through. And some vet schools do a more general education. But in terms of how do you do a specialty, you graduate vet school, you complete a 1-year internship. Typically in your area of focus, if it's large animals or small animals, and then you apply for a residency, and that's a competitive program, so not everyone matches for a residency. I did a residency in equine surgery at Auburn University, also in Alabama, and that's a 3-year program. And when you finish your residency, you take a very difficult exam. That's the board certification exam for that specialty, and if you pass, you are a board certified specialist in that area.
My head hurts. Now you are married to your husband Connor, yes?
I am, yes.
Now were you a veterinarian before you met Connor?
I was in my last year of residency. Yes. So he's definitely an animal person, but didn't have any veterinary experience before he met me, and he got thrown in the deep end.
Yay, good job, Connor.
He does a good job, yeah.
How did you meet somebody like him when you're like totally embedded in probably your most intense course of study in your whole academic career?
It was pretty surprising to me, actually, that we met. We're actually both from Long Island and New York, but we met down here in Alabama and have a remarkable number of odd things in common. And I think it was just a matter of luck and fate.
Aw. Now, was he horsey before you met him?
He was not. He's a wildlife biologist, so he's certainly into to animals and
that's a cool
more
job
from
too.
the conservation side.
Oh
it
my
is, for sure.
God! I know.
I've learned a lot from him.
But
no, he wasn't horsey.
I bet you have great dinner table conversations.
Yeah, it might be a little boring or sometimes gross for
I was going to say
other people, but yeah, we enjoy it.
Biologists, I'm going, ooh, maybe some of those conversations aren't good for the dinner table.
But Connor has embraced the horse thing, actually, and he's learned to ride and actually has his own horse now. So we are a horsey family, and my younger stepdaughter, who's 7, also rides. So we each have a horse, and we get to ride together in our local barn, which is very fun to have my family involved in that.
Oh, that's awesome! Though, what a nice, fulfilling, well-rounded life. You get to help horses, you get to enjoy them. A lot of people, I think, who work in horses, they don't necessarily have a chance to enjoy them separately from their work. So it's nice to hear that you have a chance to enjoy your horses with your family, instead of just having to constantly put your hand in their guts kind of thing.
There are other parts than that.
Okay, so all right, so I'm like all over the road here. I'm so excited to talk to you. There's 7 different conversations I want to have with you, but I'm going to try and keep it to what's in the show notes. So you have your horses at home. You get to enjoy them. You work in equine medicine. What is there's a program that you wanted to talk to us about, and you mentioned it before we actually started taping, and it has to do with traveling to Nicaragua and some program that you're involved in. Tell us about that, because it sounds like you're really passionate about it.
Sure, yeah. I came back recently from a trip to provide veterinary care to working equids, working horses on the island of Ometepe in Nicaragua. So we spent about 2 weeks in this rural community that really doesn't have any other veterinary care available to these families during the year. And I went down with the Oregon State University chapter of the International Veterinary Student Association. And they've done this trip once a year since 2006, and it's really, really a great and worthwhile program. They spend about 7 days of clinic work providing care to the dogs and cats of the island, as well as the horses and cattle and pigs. My specialty being horses, I went down there and provided routine care, physical exams, deworming, and then also castrations and various surgeries such as mass removals and taking care of wounds. things that there's no access to during the rest of the year for these families. And, there's a lot of poverty in the area. There's not a lot of, either education on animal husbandry or resources for people to take care of their animals in between. So it's a community that's very reliant on this group that comes down and provides this care. And it was incredibly fulfilling experience for me to be able to help out this group of animals that really is in need of veterinary help.
What do you find to be the most common need that you can provide? What's pretty much across the board, something that you can go down and expect that you'll need to support from, for these horses?
Yeah. One of the biggest issues with the horses, as well as the dogs and cats, but I'll speak specifically to the horses, is poor body condition in general. Horses that are really skinny. They do a lot of hard physical work. Like I said, they're working animals, and they don't have a lot of opportunity to rest these animals. They're very important for the ability of the family to survive. They also don't have access to medicines. So many of the animals have a very high worm load, and because there's not access to dewormers and veterinarians, things we take for granted here in the States, the animals are often in very poor body condition, which predisposes them to different types of injuries and saddle sores. You can imagine if their spine is kind of sticking out along the top where the saddle sits because they don't have any fat to pad it, they develop sores under the saddle. And, even the simplest things we can do, such as going down there and talking to the owners about ways to pad the saddles, typically they're ill-fitting and they don't have access to things like saddle pads. If we can talk to them about putting, for example, banana leaves under the saddle to help them heal those wounds. And then also if we bring down dewormer, we deworm these horses, and that can help them to gain their fat back and pad themselves better. One of our biggest challenges was, go ahead.
Nope. One of your biggest challenges was?
When we bring these medicines and supplies down to Nicaragua, we do have to go through customs, and we did lose about half of our supply of dewormer this year. So, we got about 3/4 of the way through the clinic, and we really had to make our supplies stretch to be able to provide the care, because unfortunately you do have the bureaucracy of going through a third world country's customs, and sometimes things don't quite make sense. But we did lose a fair number of our supplies to customs, and we weren't able to bring them to the animals.
How do you have any sponsors? Who pays for these trips?
Well, it's a completely student-run trip from Oregon State University, so I have to give the credit to the students at that vet school who every year plan this trip, and they solicit donations both from private parties and also from companies that make veterinary supplies and donate the supplies to come down with us to the trips. They pay a fee to join along with the trip, and that money is used for our housing as well as purchasing these supplies to take care of the animals.
So let's say, some equine deworming manufacturing company who might be listening to this show and had some extra supplies lying around could find a good home for them in this program, something like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Well, because I'm thinking if you guys get caught in customs with this stuff, would it be easier to just have it shipped direct? And is that even possible?
Yeah, we're looking into different methods. They've tried a variety of ways to get it down there, and it seems like the rules change every year. It's not quite so simple as just shipping it before we go. I think that's been attempted, and some of them, it never gets there. So there's little tweaks you have to make to work the system.
You have to be creative when you're working with developing countries, because you're right. Yeah. You can't just go in there and say, oh, this is how we do it in the Northeast, or this is how we do it in Alabama. You really do need to get creative. And then thinking about the creativity, there's actual healthcare that you can provide for the horses, but then again, there's this education that has to happen. Do you find that the horses' caregivers and their owners are interested in learning? Are they open to suggestions and to the kind of education that you provide that goes along with the actual hands-on care?
Yeah, definitely. They really do want the best for their animals, and if the animal does well, it means their family will do a little better. They are open to our suggestions. They do realize that we have a lot of experience, and they're happy to learn from us. There are some, I guess, folk practices that we do have to work against, things that really aren't based in medicine, but that happen anyway. But they know we provide certain services, and one of the interesting things that I found is that a lot of these families are coming in requesting dentistry for their horses, and whereas I may have to talk some folks here in the States into providing a yearly dental for their horses and explain why, these families in Nicaragua, once they learn that there's benefit to doing a dental on your horse once a year, they'll come every year and request it. So that's great. They do really want to do right by their animals. And they will come early in the morning, and they'll wait all day long for the opportunity for their animal to be seen.
Wow. What kinds of feed do they provide, or is there? I mean, I know it's difficult for them to feed their horses when they're really challenged with just feeding themselves sometimes. But do the horses have access to hay or grass or any kind of pelleted feeds or grains?
No, really not very commonly. They're in the fields, and they'll eat whatever's out there. And in fact, I saw horses eating, dried up brown palm fronds, just because they'll eat whatever's in front of them. They're very, very tough horses. They have a lot harder life than most of our horses here in the States, and they survive on less. And they also have, I've seen horses heal from injuries that a lot of the animals, if they came through my vet school, would have a very hard time surviving.
Survival of the
sometimes
fittest is what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Nigel wouldn't do well in Nicaragua.
No, neither would my horses. They're fat and spoiled.
Well, speaking of your horse, tell us a little bit about your horse.
Sure. Well, my personal horse is Harry Potter. He is a I gotta love it. He's a 9-year-old quarter horse cross. He's not papered, and that I picked up from an auction back a few years ago for about $75. And really never thought he'd be a particularly great horse. Just wanted to help him out and save him from a situation I didn't think was very good. And he's turned into a lovely little horse, actually. So I ride him English, and kind of in the early stages of training him for low-level hunters. And he's very talented, and one of those very sensitive horses that's extremely attuned to me and things that I'm trying to teach him. I've taught him, for example, the come to the mounting block that Jamie on Horses in the Morning taught to Thor from Monty Roberts' method.
I hate you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was a great thing I learned from there. But he's a very smart horse, and a really good find for especially for the price I paid for him.
Do you get offers for free horses very often?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
It's a hazard of the veterinary trade, I think.
Yeah.
My own vet is constantly getting offers for, why don't you take my horse? I mean, who wouldn't want their horse to live with their vet, So it's cool. Like, where does a vet go when they actually are ready to get their own horse? And I love that you went to the auction.
Yeah. Now, do you?
Yeah, we just kind of fell into that situation, but it seems like you never. I'm looking for a pony for our younger daughter right now, and you can never find the exact one you want, but sometimes they just fall into your hands when you're not expecting.
There you go.
That's true.
Do you share Do you share Harry Potter with your husband, or does he have his own?
He has his own. Samwise is his horse, who is a 16-year-old paint gelding and just a saint, and one of those horses that's worth his weight in gold. And the 7-year-old rides him too, and just takes care of everybody. One of those good guys.
I kind of see a theme here with the horse names.
I know. Who's the fantasy novel fan?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. And so then you have a third horse. So we have Samwise, Harry Potter, and right? Or
I have another horse that mostly is a pasture pet at this point, William. But that's our three. William doesn't really have a job. He failed at having a job, so he just lives in the field now.
He just makes you feel good.
We just pay for him.
My
he's a
freeloader. But you know what? Sometimes keeping those freeloaders like fat and healthy is an accomplishment in and of itself. I don't know if they're either easy keepers or really hard keepers. So either way, there's some extra effort involved in keeping your pasture pets happy. So I always feel good when I get them at that sweet spot. They're not too fat and they're not too thin.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to take us back to Nicaragua for a minute. How often do you go on these trips? Is it a once a year event?
Well, this was my first time attending, and I fully intend on continuing to go. In fact, what I would like to do next year is bring some of the vet students that I teach here at Tuskegee down on the trip with me. Right now, all the students that went were from Oregon State or their surroundings. But we're in works to try to bring 5 or 6 of our own students next year, because it's definitely a really well-run program and very needed. So I think if we continue to go every year, it'd be a great thing.
Awesome. Well, maybe you can come back and give us some updates on the program, because I know that once these programs take hold and the people of Nicaragua, once they get involved, like you said, they're really invested in it, and it can grow and do wonderful things. So we'd love to get some updates from you and see how the next one goes.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Great. Well, we got to get to our rapid fire questions, and
Okay.
and we'll get to know you in a lighter way.
This test will be
Jennifer?
easier than your board certification. This will be much easier.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All
All right,
enough.
Jennifer, the rapid fire questions are on your plate today. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Anytime.
Okay, here we go. Dr. Yorke, what is your favorite food?
Any sort of meat. However, I am a vegetarian.
Wait a minute. You can't be both.
Well, I can miss meat very much, but no, I don't eat it, but I do love it and miss it.
Okay, gotcha.
Also Marmite. Marmite is one of my favorites.
Oh.
There we go. All you Australian listeners, is that an Australian product, Marmite?
I think it's called Vegemite in Australia and Marmite in the UK.
Gotcha. See, that's what I know about vegetarianism. Shut up, Jennifer. You're showing your ignorance. What is your least favorite food?
Peanuts.
Oh. Allergy or just don't like them?
Disgusting little things, but I'm also allergic to them.
Well, there you go. Double whammy.
They are disgusting little things, aren't they?
What is your biggest equestrian pet peeve?
It's probably really more to do with the human side of it, but indiscriminate breeding and irresponsible breeding that adds to the overpopulation of horses and the number of horses going to slaughter.
Good one.
Oh, I am your biggest fan. I am your biggest fan
Good
right now.
one. What is the most terrifying thing you have ever done, and would you do it again? And getting married is not allowed to be an answer.
Oh, this may kind of bring down the mood a little bit, but my husband had cancer about 5 years ago, and I wouldn't want to do that again. Obviously, I would be there if I needed to, but that was not a good time. And
nobody should have to
not
ever
very
do that
enjoyable, but
twice, or even once for that matter.
Yeah.
How is he doing now?
Oh, he's great now. He's all done.
Wonderful. We're glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Good.
And if you could have a superhero power, what would it be? I'm asking the lady who owns a horse named Harry Potter this question. Okay. What would your superpower be?
Oh, I would like to be able to communicate with my animals and ask them where it hurts.
Aww. My horse would say, "Oh, it hurts in my tummy. I need to eat more." That's what he would say. I'm hungry. And if your horse could, now you've just answered the last one. If your horse could speak, what single question would you ask him or her? But you can only ask one question, just one.
I guess I would just ask him if he's happy and if there's anything I could do to make him happier.
Aww.
I love the theme. I love it. Pretty much everybody answers that way, and I think that's what brings us together. That's what makes the Horse Radio Network so awesome, because it's full of horse people who just want their horses to be happy.
Yeah, it really is just the nicest group of people that I've seen on the the auditor's Facebook page, and just a very supportive and kind and a really group that really loves their animals. It's very nice to be involved in that.
Well, we are glad you're a part of it. We're very glad for you to be a part of it. And it was nice to get to know you and the programs that you're involved in. And that was great. So Dr. Liz Yorke, DVM, she is a professor of equine surgery at, I'm going to totally get this wrong, Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine. And if I am wrong, don't correct me. Just let me live with it. Okay. Thanks so much, Liz. Thanks so much.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
And speaking of veterinarians, sometimes when your horses get boo-boos, you don't need the veterinarian. You just need to fix the boo-boo.
You need to fix the boo-boo. I'm all about fixing the boo-boo. What do you got for me that's going to help me fix the boo-boo? Because we're a family boo-boo.
Dr. Rose's Remedies.
Dr. Rose's Remedies. I love Dr. Rose's Remedies.
I found a new use for it. I am so excited. Regular listeners know that we've been using it for years on Scooter, who has white legs. So we put it on his pasterns on a pretty regular basis to avoid getting scratches, because preventing scratches is much easier than curing scratches.
Oh, God, don't we know that?
Right? Well, Nigel, my new horse, has terrible, terrible feet, partly genetic, partly due to long-term poor nutrition, because he spent a couple of years hanging out in his mom's basement living on cheese puffs. So that started to show up in his feet. So we're kind of playing that battle of getting his feet back together. And he wears hoof boots a lot now because his feet are kind of tender and really, really flat. And those hoof boots tend to hold moisture in them when the grass is damp. Not a good thing, because that promotes the growth of bacteria and other bad stuff. And you can't really put hoof oil on their hooves because that gets the insides of the boots all gummed up and nasty. But you can spray Dr. Rose's Remedies spray on his hoof walls, and I let that soak in for just maybe 30 seconds to a minute even. And then I just wipe it off with a towel to dry it and put those hoof boots on, and his feet look fantastic. Now, it's not labeled to use on their hooves. It's not labeled for that, but it is amazing for his hooves.
Wow. Well, when you do think about it, hooves are just they're like fingernails, and it's lots of protein, and it's excess. It's like big super calloused skin.
Well, it's antibacterial. It's antifungal. Both things that love to grow on hooves, right? It's all natural.
So all you did was spray his feet and throw his hoof boots on.
Well, they're clean feet first. They're clean and they're dry. Yep. And I make sure the hoof is clean and dry. I take my Dr. Rose's and I put it in a new sprayer so that the sprayer can go on stream. And I just squirt it around his coronet and kind of let it run down his hoof wall. And I'll use my fingers to smoosh it around a little bit so it's properly soaked, like you were giving his hoof a bath in Dr. Rose's. And I let it sit there. It's as short as 30 seconds if I'm in a hurry. If I'm not in a hurry, I'll leave it on there for 5 minutes or so. And then I just take a towel and quickly rub over the outside of his hoof so that it's not drippy. And then I put his hoof boots on. And he usually wears them all day. And when here in Florida, the grass is damp in the morning. It's a lot of dew, which gets moisture inside those hoof boots. And I am thrilled to death with how his hoof wall is. Because you know how when their feet get too wet, their hoof wall gets that... It's gooey, it's messy, it's sloppy, it's slimy. It starts to peel and chip because it's too much moisture.
Yeah.
Not getting that. This is an off-label use for Dr. Rose's, and I'm so excited.
Wow. Now I got to go get the spray kind.
Yeah, the spray is my friend. I use the spray 2-to-1 over the salve. I use the spray a lot. I love it because a little goes a long way. It puts it exactly where you want it. And you don't have any gooey, slimy stuff again. Florida, hot, Yep. I love the spray.
Awesome. So it's Dr. Rose's Remedies, off-label use.
drrosesremedies.com. Dr. Rose's Remedies.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jen. I feel like we just got a little horse tip daily in Stable Scoop.
There we go.
Up next, we have our Tack and Habit segment sponsored by horselovers.com. And today's segment features our reviewer, Anne-Marie Bruins, and she is going to talk to us about the Equi-Calm paste. Equi-Calm, I think we all could use a little Equi-Calm every now and again, sometimes for our horses. In my case, sometimes for myself. What is the Equi-Calm paste? It's according to the description, the manufacturer's description, It's a buffered, sugar-free amino acid formula that's designed to reduce adrenaline, increase endorphins, and protect the horse's stomach. And so, Anne-Marie, I'm assuming that you use this on your horse or horses. So we're eager to hear what you have to say. Welcome to the Stable Scoop Show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I use it on my little crazy thoroughbred.
Okay, so you have a crazy thoroughbred. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, it actually, how I ended up getting this to review was Glenn asked me, he's like, why do you need it? And I'm like, well, I'd like to stay out of the hospital this year.
Well, tell us a little bit about your horse first.
She's an off the track thoroughbred, and I always joke with my trainer, she feels like a loaded spring.
Oh boy. So tell us about how you use the Equi-Calm paste and what you thought of it.
So with this, it's a paste in like a tube, like you do with like Wormer. I try to like give it to her about half hour to an hour before I ride. And it says on the thing for like competitions, you'd want to do it the night before and then the morning of the competition. I don't really compete much anymore with her because of her age, but I did notice a difference. I thought it took longer for this to work. Once like halfway into our work, she'd be like, I just feel like a whole like release of air from her. And she's like, oh, okay, I can relax.
So you think whenever you use this product according to its labeling instructions, it kind of sank in and started to have an effect after. Now, do you think the same thing would have happened? Let's say you gave it to her according to the instructions, and you just simply waited longer. In other words, instead of getting her out, putting her on the lunge line, let her move around a little bit. Do you think getting her to move around a little bit helped to get it to kick in, or do you just think it took longer?
I think it just took longer because I didn't change my training regimen that I have with her from the different products. And I think what probably made it work not as quickly. With the paste, it takes more to digest it.
So whenever you used this product, did you notice any specific behaviors that it had an effect on? Was she less spooky, less energetic?
She seemed more focused. She seemed like she's like ADD. She can't like focus on one thing at a time, but this was more like, okay, I'm focusing just on the rider. Oh, I'm not focusing on the horse that's grazing out over there or the dog running down the hill, fighting with the other dog in the middle of the ring.
Gotcha. Yeah. Squirrel. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I totally get it.
Or the squirrels throwing acorns at us.
Yep.
But yeah, I think they could like improve the smell a little bit. It was just a little strong.
What was that like when you first got in the saddle? Did you feel her already? Her calm? Like, did you feel her calm to start with?
Yeah, because I did it two different ways. I experimented with it. That I gave it to her about a half hour to an hour before I got on and rode the night before. Then the following day, I gave her another dose to see if it would make a difference. And I didn't lunge her that time, but I noticed that it's kind of had a building effect. Like the more you gave it to her, the more it worked. So like usually sometimes when I get on her, like I can just already feel her just putting my foot in the stirrup. She bloats and she tenses and then she steps forward. But this time she like kind of just stood there and I didn't feel like I had this massive loaded horse underneath me when I got on.
Very interesting. And probably the actual intent of the product is to take that edge off, having to take that extra step out of our riding and reduce that anticipatory anxiety in them. If that's what this paste does, just maybe they could add a little sugar to it or something else. Maybe apple flavor instead of maple.
Especially, because like I knew how ACE works with horses, and this is a cheaper alternative than getting a prescription from your vet for ACE.
Wonderful. I like it.
Well, there we go.
All right. Yeah. So that's the Equi-Calm paste. They have it at horselovers.com. What are we looking at for price here? Because it is an affordable alternative. They have a pretty, I don't know if this is a pack. It's listed at $118.
Yeah, you get you get 6 syringes of it, and it's like 30 cc's or 30 milliliters. of
Okay,
the
it's a six
product.
pack. It's a
Look
six
at that.
pack.
Yeah,
I read the
six
fine
pack.
print. 6-pack.
Yes, it's a six pack. So if we were
Yes.
to do the math, what's roughly $120 divided by 6? That's easy math. So that's what, $20 a tube?
Yeah, that's about average for like that kind
Yeah.
of stuff on the
So
market individually.
that's pretty good. So so it's Equi-Calm paste, and it is available at horselovers.com. Thank you very much, Anne-Marie. This was a really informative review. I loved it.
Thank you.
Well, we had a great show today, Jen. It was full of stuff. I think it was full of stuff I didn't expect it to be full of, but I'm happy that it was.
You know, the theme for this show was problem solving.
Yes.
We had problem solving products. We had our listener of the week was Dr. Yorke, who's helping to solve problems for horses and families in Nicaragua. It was awesome.
It was awesome. And I solved the problem of being single by getting married. That was a big problem. And we have when Glenn's away, I had to say Glenn runs the show very much in certain, especially in Stable Scoop. I used to be more involved in the production, but now I just kind of sit back and I'm a passenger, which is fine. But what happens is when Glenn departs for the day, he takes all his knowledge with him.
Yes.
He doesn't necessarily do a great job of leaving those instructions behind.
Glenn is not good at POPs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Procedures, no. Directions, no.
Just, I love you, Jen and Helena. Here you go. You'll do a great job. And you know what?
He trusts us.
Job.
It's all about the trust.
He trusts us. So we have to kind of think on the fly, which is not, I don't know about you, Jen, but that is not my strong suit. I need careful analysis. But I think we did a good job, and we really got to know some great people. I loved our conversation with Dr. Yorke, and I loved learning about Anne-Marie's thoroughbred and what challenges she faces and the Equi-Calm paste. And of course, I loved talking about my own very special wedding day. And I got to do this all with you, my favorite horse person of all time.
So much fun.
Thank you. Thank you.
So where can everybody go for details about today's show?
They can go to stablescoop.com. You can dig through our show notes. We put links to our guests and products and everything that you need to know that you could not remember from listening to the podcast. But you know what? We make it even easier for you. You can get the Horse Radio Network app on your iOS or Droid phone, which makes all of this stuff super easy. If you just search for Horse Radio Network in the App Store, go download it. It's free, and from a usability perspective, super easy to use.
Woohoo! And then you can log in next Friday for another episode, or if you've downloaded the app, it will be there for you. Aha! And we love your feedback. That's how we find out what you guys want to hear about. So join us on Facebook. That would be Stable Scoop. Or you can follow our tweets, and our handle is Horse Radio. That's our handle.
Horse Radio.
And that's right. And you can become an auditor, and you get the really, really inside scoop. And if you go to the website, stablescoop.com, there's a button there that tells you how to become an auditor. And many, many thanks to this week's sponsors, which would be horselovers.com and Dr. Rose's Remedies.
And Horseware.
Woohoo!
We love them all. Thank you very much for sponsoring us. Be sure to visit all the great shows on the Horse Radio Network. We have a bunch of them now, and if you want to find out what they are, go to horseradionetwork.com. Jennifer, we did it. We survived.
Yay!
But there will be more next week. Until then, happy scooping, everyone.